Indiana Jones, It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute. This is the podcast where we stab in the back the film Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull 1 minute at a time. I'm Tom Taylor.
I'm Pete Mummert.
I'm Gerald Christopher Marcus Porter.
And I'm Josh Bell.
Hello,
Hey.
Josh. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You got here just in the nick of time because Indiana Jones is about to use his whip, and you taught our own Pete Mummert how to use a bullwhip.
I did, and he was a quick learner, too.
That was a lot of fun. I'm not sure if that's true, but it was awesome trying.
So question for you, Josh. If what's like the major one or two things, rules you must abide by when teaching somebody how to use a bullwhip?
Well, start simple. Wear eye protection. If you're not wearing eye protection, you can only
Safety
mess up
first.
twice.
Just like Indiana Jones does. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I learned from a group that gets together in San Francisco. It turns out Pete and I actually live fairly close to each other in SF.
Yeah.
And I learned from some folks that get together a few times a month. Schedule can be erratic sometimes, but the way it was taught to me was imagine that you're standing on some railroad tracks and move the whip so that it's moving above one of the railroad tracks. And as long as it's moving in that plane and it doesn't come out of that plane, then it's not going to hit you, because when it hits you, it hurts.
Wow. And Pete, you employed this bullwhip, didn't you?
Yeah. And Josh, I have to say, Josh was such an amazing teacher. I did not injure or maim anybody,
Oh, nice. Including
Yeah.
yourself?
Yeah.
including myself. Yeah.
Nice.
What was the most surprising thing about bullwhipping?
For me, it was Josh was telling me that the reason it makes that snapping sound is because the tip is actually breaking the sound barrier.
Yep.
Oh, my God.
Yep.
It's crazy.
There are some pretty good videos on the internet that have been captured recently where with high-speed cameras where you can actually see the little sonic boom emitting as the tip of the whip
Oh, my
is
God.
That's
going faster
cool.
than the speed of sound.
Wow.
That's really cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It's like that had never occurred to me until Josh said it. And then it makes perfect sense. But that's amazing. Like just a little
Man.
mini sonic boom.
Yeah, that also means that, the tip is moving 800 plus miles an hour. So even though the tip is just a tiny piece of string, it can cut you.
Wow.
And that's another reason to wear hats, because as you start doing fancier moves, you've got this tiny bit of string moving at 800 plus miles per hour, inches from your head. And so if you're wearing a hat, it gives your ears a little bit of protection.
Oh, nice.
So the fedoras
Gosh.
are not just a style element.
The things you don't think you need to worry about in life. Well, we're about to see a cool bullwhip in action in minute 14 of Crystal Skull, which begins with the Russians looking in amazement at the alien hand, and it ends with Indy telling Mac, "I thought we were friends."
Well, it's interesting because she kind of starts this minute off twisting this gnarled hand around. And she really doesn't seem to be treating this alien with a lot of caution or a lot of
Yeah.
care,
Be
which
careful
is
with
weird.
that thing.
But it also, I still can't figure out how this ended up in a warehouse that everybody's forgotten. I mean, if the government had actually discovered alien life, there would be a waiting list of scientists going centuries, like wanting to
Yeah.
study this. So I'm not sure how this, like the Ark of the Covenant, I can kind of see maybe that's not super topical in a lot of people's minds, and
Mhm.
they wouldn't, be clamoring to study it. But
It's old fashioned.
yeah, an alien, it seems like it would have the sign up sheet would be miles long.
Is this just a commentary on government bureaucracy and inefficiency and, this priceless thing got buried. No one knows where it is. And
I guess I don't know. I'm turning into you, Tom. Like that worked in Raiders, but that might be going back to the well one too many times.
It was
try to make
sublime
that
in
comment.
Raiders.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think, Josh? Maybe you could be an arbiter here.
I'm pretty much in the same camp as you are. The impression is the government just wants to bury these secrets. The top men are, as Indy kind of suspected, mythical. So I think it builds on the end of Raiders. Obviously, these are numerous things of immense power, but the United States, obviously, in the real world, hasn't used them, so they have to be tucked away and forgotten.
So you think it's they're intentionally burying?
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Maybe they just maybe they don't care anymore. Maybe they studied it for a year or something and they couldn't do anything with it. And they're like, it's like going to the moon. It's like they went to the moon and that was awesome. And it's like, well, now
right. Then what do you do with it? Yeah.
So just put it over there.
No, it's just some stupid alien. It's just dead.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you. Won't play.
Did seem cool. Indy finally punches that guy and gets the whip back.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that he punches the guy's gun into his face.
Yeah, that's vicious.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's a little.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That little old extra violence.
Yeah.
Just peppered in. We saw a lot of that in Temple of Doom.
Yeah. Or in Raiders, you wonder if that guy smiled at him. And he's like, no.
It seems like that hurt Indy, though, if you punch the gun. Like, it seems like that hurt his fist.
I think it was a double thing. What he does is, I think what he does is he punches him with the gun. He knocks the guy out, and then he keeps his gun.
No, I know he keeps the gun, but he punches the
so
gun, and then the gun punches the guy in the face, right? Like, Indy punches the gun. But it seems like that would hurt his
it's
fist.
actually really, it doesn't line up entirely, because if you watch it, you're like, okay, so he punches, it's weird. He punches the guy in the face using the gun with his left hand. Yeah, with his left hand. But then they show him peel the whip off the guy's shoulder with his right hand. Mm-hmm. And then they see Indy give the guy like a left cross.
That is weird.
But he doesn't have the gun in his hand. And you're like, so where
I think
is
the gun falls to the ground. And then he whips the guy. Which I have to say, I mean, I'm glad you're here, Josh, because I'm going to say something controversial. Is this the best whip action we've seen in 4 movies? He whips the guy's gun across Mac. He gets the guy's gun out of his hand, and instead of like just yanking it away, he yanks it to Mac. Mac grabs it on the way back.
Yep, it's definitely a nice clean move. It's a nice clean sidearm crack.
Yeah.
Whip. Oh, sorry, no, not a sidearm crack.
He's got his hat on.
Yeah.
So he's not. Yeah, his head is protected. I'm sure he's sitting there, imagining he's on a railroad.
Like if you watch this carefully, it's one of the things that surprised me when you taught me how to do this, Josh. Is Indy does it very slowly. Like you think if you're going to make the whip tip move at the speed of sound, you're going to have to really flick it, but you don't. It's a very gentle rolling motion where you crack the whip.
Yeah, and it's actually quite different than how he uses the whip in the previous 3 movies. I can't remember who was his trainer for the first 3 movies, but they had a new trainer for this movie. And his trainer for this one was Anthony DeLongis, who is a stunt weapons trainer in Hollywood. And this is definitely his style. He calls it the rolling loop style, where the motions are incredibly gentle. And you're just setting up the whip, putting it in the right place, and letting the whip do all of the work. So it can be a nice, gentle motion that ends up with the energy propagating down the length of the whip and ending up cracking.
It's kind of amazing. There's one shot of him that can't be like more than 5 frames or something, but you get that sense from it that he's just kind of like very, like almost casually, just kind of like almost sidearm kind of, I'm going to send this whip over there.
Yep.
I'm going to grab that guy's gun.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's nice. It's very fluid.
Yeah. When we call it throwing a whip, because you don't think about it as I'm flailing it or my arm is going up and down and pulling it back. It's your arm is going forward, and ideally it's as gentle a motion as possible to get the whip to extend out exactly where you want it.
It works.
Well, it sounds like there might be a little bit of controversy here. Because so Indy, pulls the guy's gun towards him, and you're like, so does he give the gun to Mac, or is Indy pulling the gun towards himself? Let's say show of hands here.
I thought Indy grabbed the first guy's gun, and this is the second guy coming around the corner that he whips the gun.
Yeah, and he's arming Mac.
Right.
I think it feels it's so well done. It feels like it's intentional. Like, hey, buddy, I got you. Have a gun. You know, like he grabs the other guy's gun and it goes right to Mac.
It might be intentional in the final product, but I think in the movie they actually filmed a different scene because the script has Indy whipping the second guy gun and he shoots the first guy. Like he whips the second guy's gun and the gun goes off and shoots the first guy instead of whipping the gun towards Mac. And they apparently filmed that, but according to the guy, the extra in the scene. So I don't know if this was like some fancy editing to make it kind of change the meaning of what they did.
Huh. It doesn't look like the guy gets a shot off or anything. He kinda,
there's no evidence of that in the movie.
It isn't in one shot. It goes from the guy to Mac in one single shot. So, I mean, maybe they filmed that other version also, but this looks like it works pretty.
Is that
seamlessly.
something you could do, Josh? Like, could you whip a gun from one guy's hands into another guy's hands?
If they were surprised or holding it loosely, it's plausible. Definitely done the playing around with friends in the park, and one of them will hold a wrap target like a stick, and you can whip it and yank it out of their hand.
Wow.
And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. So it's not a reliable thing.
Okay.
I don't know if with sufficient training, it can be an every single time thing. But if the person's holding on tightly, then it's not going to happen.
Okay.
Would the whip just not grab it tightly enough?
It could grab it, but I mean, it would be a tug of war. Just a tug of war.
Yeah.
But I think in this case, who's going to be tensing their arms, expecting the whip to yank the gun away?
Right.
That's my gun. Get off.
That's true. Well, that bad guy's got a terrific gape mouth.
Yeah.
It's really it's really weird. He can't believe what's going on. I actually love that move. That's a great move, and it's I like the way it's shot too.
I'm trying to think of you can really you can count the times he uses his whip, maybe on one or two hands, right? In all the movies,
yeah,
and they're all kind of straightforward. Like he's using it as a swinging device or as a disarming device, or catching a girl around the waist and somehow not breaking her spine. And
well, yeah. So in Raiders with the big swords, the Cairo swordsman, he uses it as like almost defensively.
Mm-hmm. Keep away from me.
Like I don't think keep it, and he kind of it's like a bit of a crowd clearer.
Yep.
Right. I'm going to use this.
He cracks it around and it like floats around like a dangerous serpent or something. Yeah, and I don't think he doesn't hit anybody, does he?
Well, Josh, were you telling me that's the original purpose of a bullwhip, was they would like smack it around, just the sound would scare the cattle and the bulls because you didn't want to actually hurt the animals?
Yeah, I mean your livestock are your prized possessions, so you don't want to be hurting them. But what you do want to be doing is making a sound that drives them in a particular direction. So driving cattle, crack it to their left or to their right. Driving a herd of oxen or sled dogs, they use a kind of whip for extremely long whips for controlling dog sled teams. And the drivers will crack it above a particular dog that's misbehaving.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So that would be plausible with, like, you could kind of corral the people in Cairo in the marketplace. Like you could get them to move in the direction you want.
Well, I'd be scared.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not wearing a hat.
Yeah, right. No one told me to wear a hat.
Yeah. I mean, there are movies, you mentioned Lash LaRue, that have had bullwhip fights in them. They're not really a practical weapon for a fight. If someone's too close or too far away, nope. But they look darn impressive. And scaring people away is probably the most practical use of them.
And grabbing guns and getting them to the other guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so, Indy doesn't bury his wubbayous, but he does slobber his spalcos. Did you guys
Does a little bit, you're right.
He totally, yeah.
I didn't catch that, but now I'm gonna.
Well,
listen.
and I think it just proves my point that he salivates at any opportunity for destruction and chaos.
Yeah.
He does. He's like spalco.
Spacho. I just heard it again.
Yeah,
It's like in the back of his throat. Spacho.
He does, yeah.
He's disgusting.
Well, the drop the guns. The gun dropping is it's a very orchestrated surrender. And like the actions and the movements in this movie so far are very exaggerated and even stylized.
I think that's a little of that Spielberg shorthand. We were sort of talking about like Spielberg light last time. Like he's got his bag of tricks, and one of them is like, these kind of, cinematic, but kind of, what if they all put their guns down at the same time? That would look neat. It's like it would never happen,
right.
but it does. It's a good image.
That's why he wants to work on West Side Story.
Oh, maybe,
which is the movie he's supposed to be doing before Indy 5.
Yeah, he's doing it now.
Wow.
As we speak.
Yeah.
Dating the podcast.
Yeah.
It's it feels very much like the Indiana Jones comic book that we read, or just comic books, some of them. You know how. So is this working for well, Tommy, you're sort of the weather vane here. I don't really trust Pete. He gets a little soft. Yeah, he gets a little forgiving. No, is this sort of stylized, like all the guns drop and then the one gun comes up and you see the crowd of people and you're going, whoa, that guy's really bad and nasty. And then like, do you like how this is executed?
Like the whole Mac reveal and everything?
Just
or just the guns going down like that?
Yeah, all of it. Yeah, the Mac reveal.
I think the guns going down is
the whole
fine.
Thing.
That's do I have the floor now? I'm
yes.
explaining this to both you and Pete and Josh. Okay.
Yeah.
The guns go down. That's cool. What the problem is? There's a lot of problems. First of all, the guns go down, and then the one guy. I always forget his name. What's his name? The big guy.
Shevchenko.
Yeah. He lifts his gun up. And then there's a wide shot of all the other soldiers lifting their guns up, and you see Mac already holding the gun on Indy. So the big reveal, the swinging shot going from Indy to Mac to reveal Mac as a bad guy, you just saw him like already holding a gun on Indy. So that's not even like a reveal, that dramatic shot, which is a good shot. That's like, going from Indy and then you see the gun, and then at the end of the gun is Mac and Indy knows what's up. That's a good shot, but they just spoiled it a second earlier because you already saw Mac holding a gun on Indy. So that was kind of annoying. But then even beyond that, who cares if Mac's holding a gun on Indy? Who cares if Mac is stabbing Indy in the back? Because we don't even know this guy. This is less interesting than Barranca, who we did not know at all. He hadn't had a line of dialogue, and he pulled a gun on Indy at the beginning of Raiders. And you're like, oh, look out, Indy, or whatever your name is. Look out, Raider. Yeah. Like, we don't know Mac enough for this to be like cutting or a kick to the gut or anything. And that's kind of annoying. And it stays that way for the rest of the movie. Spoilers.
Well, I as I said earlier on, Mac is my least favorite part of this movie, I think.
Yeah.
And I think for partly because of the reason you say, Tom, is he's not fleshed out as a character. Like, you don't know anything about him. And he doesn't seem interesting because to me at least, a lot of this backstory seems to ring hollow. Like, I don't get why he and Indy are friends, and they don't seem like they were guys that worked together. I don't know. I'm trying to be a little lighter on him. I finished reading a book recently called Agent Zigzag by Ben McIntyre. And if you like spy stories, I super highly recommend it. It's about a British safecracker who became one of the most important secret agents of World War II. And he's kind of reminds me of Mac. Like, he's, got the accent, the Cockney kind of accent, and he's kind of this unlikable guy that becomes a very interesting spy. So I'm kind of hoping maybe that'll rub off. I mean, I'll think of Mac as a little more interesting than he actually is.
It's frustrating because I like, gosh, I'm blanking on everything today. The actor's name. I like the actor And I want to like Mac. I like the image
Yeah.
of him as Indy's buddy. I think, just this kind of gruff Cockney dude. I don't even know if it's actually Cockney. Is that Cockney?
Yeah, I know. As soon as I said Cockney, I was like, we got like 100 people are going to write to us and be like, that's not Cockney.
It's Denholm. But yeah, I mean, I like the idea of Mac, but I don't know. Like, it's too bad that he's just the guy who just is a triple backstabber or whatever. Like a triple double agent. It's like it's nothing. It doesn't mean anything. It's a distraction, and it's silly, and it's too bad.
And to me, he comes across as kind of unlikable in this. Like he doesn't ever come across as likable.
Mm-hmm.
So when he becomes unlikable, there's nothing that ever makes him stop being anything but unlikable to me.
Right. Yeah.
They fall into the trap of introducing his shared backstory with Indy by telling us about it. There aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Built up looks between them.
Right.
It's not subtle.
That nest of Gundarks.
I actually like the way this whole exchange was filmed.
Yeah, I like the exchange.
It's
I like
comic
this
booky,
exchange, yeah.
and it's a little, it's a little over the top, but it is also beautifully filmed, and
Sure.
I do like that a lot.
Well, they're nice things because when they put the guns down, like you can see Spalko standing up in the back with kind of a little wry smile on her face again.
Yeah.
And I feel like she knows everything that's about to happen already.
Yeah.
Like there are nice little things in the background in a lot of these shots.
The first thing that Indy says is, "Why, Mac?" And so I'm wondering, he says, I'm a capitalist, and I'm wondering, is that a good answer? Is that what you would expect this guy to say? You know what I mean?
Why did you sell out to the communists? Because I'm a capitalist.
That's your clue right there that he's not really stabbing Indy in the back. He's not really a double agent.
Well, so it's just kind of, I don't know. Would you were expecting that? Would you have liked a different answer? Josh, would you have liked a different answer?
I think it worked.
Okay.
When I was watching the movie up to this point to prepare, there's so much filler leading up to this point. I'm sure you all have covered that in the preceding minutes, but his movie has a very slow opening, and I think they could have balanced it a little more, introducing us to the character a little bit more, making his betrayal feel more like a betrayal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to have his excuse be money is okay, sure. Fine. is it going to be like because of what you did in Madrid? You're like, I don't know what happened in Madrid.
See, now here's what's interesting. I was wondering, because Indy kind of, the minute closes with Indy saying, I thought we were friends, Mac. And I thought, what if Mac just knew what it was like to be Indy's friend?
Yeah.
He was just damn tired of it.
He's Dirty Harry's latest, partner. He's like, I know what happens. I'm getting out of here.
Exactly. I mean, what if Indy hit on his daughter, like, first Abner and now me, now me. Yeah. No. Or, what it was, like because of what you did in Madrid. Yeah. Exactly. Like, would that have been better? Or like, I was about to, I don't know. I was about to find the spear of destiny, and then you swooped in with your grubby mitts.
I think if it was anything like that, we'd be even more frustrated. We'd be like, why are they acting like these guys are pals and that they have a history if we don't see it? That's stupid. So I think to just have it being something simple like, hey, I needed the money. That's okay. Fine. Okay. That worked.
Although when you saw the guys were pals like Anakin and Obi-Wan, maybe it's better we didn't get that too.
Yeah. That's true. It doesn't always work.
Well, I mean, Mac's like his war buddy.
Yeah. That's what it
and a bunch
like.
of other stuff too.
I don't feel like they've established any of that. And so to me, none of it rings true when he betrays him. So I'd never see anything other than like Mac is just a betrayer.
Huh. Yeah. But what's so fascinating, Tommy, is you mentioned Barranca, and for some reason I agree with you. He's lineless, and it for some reason has more weight than this.
It's a different thing. You're like with these guys, you're like, oh, that guy just pulled a gun on that guy. Oh no, what's going to happen? So it's like it's a totally different thing. But then here it's supposed to be more of a thing, And it just isn't. They haven't set it up to be more of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Indy's not going to get shot by him. So, I mean, he's not going to die.
Right. Now, would this be less annoying or easier to take or something if there wasn't the weird flip-flopping and re-flip-flapping that goes on with Mac for the rest of the movie? Because I'm thinking about that right now as part of like my annoyance with this. Like, well, who cares? Who cares what side he's on? It doesn't matter. Like, he keeps saying he's on a different side later on. And
I kind of don't even remember where Mac winds up.
I don't either.
He kind of flip-flaps, and they do it enough that you're like, he's just kind of like skim milk.
He's going to be all right.
He just, I don't remember. Because, they join again, or I don't know.
Mm.
You're kind of like, why didn't Indy punch him? Or like, Indy would punch him. He wouldn't let. If Indy ever
Does have a
sees
gun
Mac
pointed at
again,
him.
like if he ever sees Mac again after this moment, they're not going to be cool.
Right.
I don't remember what happens when he sees Mac again after this.
I don't
moment, though,
either.
to be honest.
I kind of do, but I don't want to spoil it for anybody.
Okay. I think it's a nice shot when you hear, like you said, Tom, you already know that Mac's got the gun trained on Indy, but Indy doesn't know it yet. And I like that the way he finds out is he hears Mac cocking the gun.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's a nice shot.
That is nice.
I think this whole scene is nice.
It is. I like it too.
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
just
mean to
don't
make
like
it sound
Mac.
like I
I
didn't like it. I just don't like the Mac
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And I wish
agree.
they didn't. I wish Mac wasn't holding the gun on Indy before he's holding the gun on Indy.
But
Just a
you know
little
what's
thing,
weird? That it makes sense though for that one shot. I agree with you, Tommy, that they kind of ruin the really nice shot where the camera swings around and you see Mac, but they do have a great shot. The shot you're talking about that ruins it is a great shot. It does explain exactly why all the other Russian soldiers raised their weapons.
Right. I guess if you knew that the Russians knew about Mac, then you wouldn't have to have a gun on Indy, and they would just say, "Oh, our guy's got a gun, and he's right next to Indy. We're not in trouble. We can raise our guns again."
I was trying to figure that out, like who knows about Mac, and my guess is that Dovchenko and Spalko know, because when Dovchenko raises his gun again, the guy next to him kind of goes, "What?"
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think he knows about Mac.
Even if they know, I don't think they necessarily trust him. So they have to wait.
That's
to
a good
see
point.
what he's
Yeah,
up
that's,
to.
that's a great point. Yeah.
Well, so who knows about Mac? And I also wonder, do they know what's up with this alien? Like when they're opening the crate, all the Russians are like, "Oh," you know what I mean? They're like, their face. Like, do they know what they're there for? And do they know Mac's a double agent?
See, I think the soldier guys don't know about Mac. I think only the Spalko and Dovchenko do.
Yeah.
But they have to know something because they all are super curious to look inside the crate.
Yeah.
Although I guess if you're a soldier sent on a mission into another country and you have to break into their high security place with no guards to steal something, you would probably be curious too. So maybe that's just them being curious what you're trying to steal.
Yeah. Although if you're going to lead a bunch of guys into a mission like this, you might want to, I don't know, maybe you would want to say like, now you might see an alien from outer space, so don't freak out. Like this is part of the mission. That's actually what we're looking for. So just stay cool. But who knows?
Well, speaking of an alien from outer space.
Uh-oh.
Coming through in a very terrestrial way. This just in from Professor Christy Porter. Question for Pete.
Uh-oh.
Why does Mac call Indy Jonesy? Is that a fever dream for Alien?
Yes. Can I answer that? Yes.
Yes, I'll let Tom answer that.
Oh, because John Hurt's in this movie too.
And we have an alien.
And we do have an alien.
Totally. We got some Jonesy. We got some alien. We got some John Hurt.
Nice. Well, Josh, do you want to come back on? I know it's a couple days from now. Do you want to come back on Friday and because Indy's going to use his whip again, and you have to explain it to us.
Suppose we can reveal the secrets of his magic whip.
Excellent. See, that's exactly why we have you here. This will be excellent. But before we go, is there anything you want to? Where do you take people like Pete and teach them how to use their whipping skills?
So if you're in the Bay Area, you can go to sfwhips.com. Pretty basic site, but it has the location where we get together and a calendar. And yeah, we'd love anybody to stop by. Grown-ups, kids, with adult supervision, and no experience necessary.
Wow. Just follow the
Cool.
sound of the sonic booms in the park.
Yeah, you do have to park a little bit away and walk to the precise location. So yeah, following the sound tends to.
Yeah. But if you are in the Bay Area or even close and you ever have a chance to check it out, I highly, highly recommend coming and saying hi. Like, everybody's super nice, and it's a lot of fun. And it's just cool to see how it works.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, Josh. Please come back on Friday. And everybody out there in the world, you guys come back on Friday also for minute 15 of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull here on the Indiana Jones Minute. Jonesy!
Sparkle.
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 Jonesy.